So let's give you a view from the sky now. I'm joined by eNCA's senior reporter, Dasen Thathiah, who is flying around Durban. And Dasen, I believe you must be flying over Springfield in Durban, which is where the president is at the moment. What are you seeing?
Well, Tulas, as you mentioned, the president was here to assess the damage to these areas. I guess it's something that we brought to our viewers a long time ago. It was very clear to see what was going on even as early as the weekend when those riots began. There were also reporters and everyone else that was working on the ground, law enforcement agencies, were able to very quickly establish that this was getting out of hand and getting out of hand very quickly. And although things seem to have calmed down somewhat, we just flew over the Springfield area a short while ago. That's where we believe the president had passed by for a short while. It is a lot calmer, but there is a massive cleanup operation that still needs to be conducted. There were communities that had come out to assist with that, but it's going to take a lot more than just them. They are going to have to get extra help. But on that note, although that's been the situation around the city, you may recall that last night we received some reports of fresh fires and fresh looting that was continuing. Now, this comes despite the intervention of the SANDF. We went out to a fire in Eshowe last night. A mall there was burnt down. And you know, just while we're making this trip along the N2 here, I just want to tell you about some of the conversations that we had with the law enforcement officials and the fire department that is on the ground there. There was such a sense of despondency. They were defeated. They were talking about their community members, about the jobs. This was coming from those that were working on the ground fighting these fires. And I think it's also something to consider, because the reason that they have been feeling like that is despite all of the efforts that we've been seeing in the past week, we are still seeing these pockets of violence and arson attacks still persisting. So today we're seeing the president here. I think the question needs to be asked, what decisive leadership is he going to bring in during this visit to change what is currently going on?
Dasen, in terms of the look and feel of it all, a few days ago when you were doing the first trips that you were doing in that chopper, much of what we were seeing were, billows of smoke in the distance in the horizon, and we were seeing flames at particular shopping centers from time to time, and a lot of commotion and movement by people who were actively engaged in looting at that particular point. Just in terms of a contrast between what you were seeing back then and what you are seeing now, how different is the picture from the sky?
It's looking certainly a lot calmer. And I just want to call your attention to something while we're flying over here. I think, and you'll forgive me because I am quite high above, I think you should be looking at a presidential convoy right about now. That's the president's convoy making its way across the N2 just below us. And you can just come in here, tell us if that's indeed what you're also seeing.
Yeah, you absolutely. It does look like a number of black-colored cars. Let me just say that, because the picture has not come into pixelated into better clarity. But you're absolutely right. There is a convoy of cars that are dark in color. And once we get even closer, we'll be able to make out whether it is the presidential convoy. But it does look like a convoy of sorts. In which direction are these vehicles headed, Dasen? I think I see two columns of them, actually. There's one column at the front with a few other vehicles behind it, and then the bigger column following there as they pass that truck there.
That's correct, Tulas, and I'm pretty certain now that it is that convoy. It's now making its way towards the south of Durban on the N2, and you'll see by the movement of those vehicles, you can see that they are also driving quite strategically. There was a massive security detail from the reports from our colleagues that was accompanying the president, and understandably so. It's been a volatile situation on the ground. We are most likely going to part ways now with that convoy as we get on our way. I can also tell you that there was an SAPS helicopter that we saw over the Springfield area. That may have been just orbiting that area just to give, you know, an added a benefit of security from the air, but that was after he had left. So there's lots of work to be done yet, Thulas. But as I continue this conversation, let me talk to you about where we are now in the south of Durban. I've brought you here because this was a community that was also affected last night. In fact, we were seeing a new report coming in. I mentioned to you earlier that despite all of these interventions, that there were fresh fires and fresh looting that was taking place around 9 o'clock or 9:30 last night. We saw messages coming out of Isipingo where there was a fire, a market that had burnt down. And it's gotten to a point, Thulas, where we are seeing so many of these videos circulating that, you know, we also make the best efforts to verify them. But the fact that so many of them are rolling in, it tells you how broad this problem is. Imagine us sitting in Durban and then hearing a report that in Eshowe a mall is burning. And then when we're in Eshowe, we're learning that there's a fire in Isipingo, which is in the south of Durban. I think that paints a picture for you of how broad and also in a sense of how all of this is happening almost simultaneously.
Right. Dasen, I'm going to ask you to pause there for a moment, and we'll stay with your visuals for a moment. But I pause you because I want to take us to Khayelihle Khumalo, who is out in Pretoria with the Premier David MAKHURA. This as efforts are getting underway. In fact, in Tembisa, that is, efforts are getting underway to clean up in Gauteng after the days of looting and the violence that has taken place. Kaya, what has the first citizen of Gauteng been seeing, and more importantly, what is he saying?
Well, that's right, Thulas. So the mop-up operation is really in full swing. So this is one of the stores that has really just been terribly gutted and really facing quite a number of challenges when it comes to the incidents that we have been exposed to. But we're just going to walk to the Premier because he's really just busy here. All hands are on deck. And of course, he's surrounded by the members of this particular community. So just bear with us. Hopefully, the footage is going to be steady as we try and prepare for these. So there he is, Mr. Premier. How do you do, sir? Let's just get an interaction. Okay, hold on. Just bear with us, Thulas. Just bear with us.
Let's be here. It's quite a bit of a media scrum.
Okay.
Guys,
okay, Thulas, just bear with us. There was an undertaking that we'll speak to the Premier, but seemingly there is an impromptu press briefing.
Yeah. Let's see if we can hear from the Premier now.
Yes, today we are in Tembisa. This is Tembisa Plaza Mall. I am here with the MMC in Ekurhuleni responsible for finance and the economy. We are not here to inspect. We are with the members of the community here and the non-governmental organizations that are supporting the cleanup, because we want these businesses to be in operation as soon as possible. We have also spoken to the center manager. I must say that this is one of the areas where we lost people. There are 6 people who died in this mall during this period of looting. I am advised that there's a gas explosion that happened in here, and when the fire was lit, and 6 of our fellow South Africans died in the period of that explosion and that activity of looting. It is sad, extremely sad. As we speak now, 26 people have passed on in Gauteng province. Throughout the province from yesterday, communities are cleaning up, and the businesses where there was looting and destruction of some of these areas are coming back in operation. My message has been, let's get our communities to work with law enforcement agencies, to work with the authorities to make sure that the looting stops and the businesses are assisted as immediately as possible to return to operation. I am very glad that throughout the province, from yesterday and today, it's calm. There are sporadic incidences that continued in one or two areas, but the principal focus of the people of the province and the communities from yesterday, and it's continuing today and into the weekend, is cleaning up these areas. Just where we are, this is a shopping center, small in proportion to some of the shopping centers we have in our communities, especially in the townships. This area is small. It's relatively small, but 800 people were working in this area. These 800 people come from the greater Tembisa communities. As you know, since the outbreak of the violence and the looting, those people have not been able to come to work. There are more than 50 businesses. The city of Ekurhuleni leadership is just telling me that there are about 54 businesses. And a lot of businesses that are in here are local businesses. From yesterday, we have also been engaging with those local businesses and the small businesses that are saying it is going to be very difficult for them. Unlike the big businesses that have insurances, some of the people have really invested their very last savings into this operation. What is it that the provincial government is doing? I don't want to promise something that we're still going to have to deal with. The scale of the damage is still being assessed. But certainly there are businesses, small businesses, that are going to need help to return. People who use their last savings, their last investment to get into this area. We have been working on the township fund, which before this outbreak of violence, the township economy fund for township businesses, we have been working on finalizing it right now. I spoke 2 days ago with MEC Pakstow that the time to launch that township fund is now, to support those businesses, township businesses, the small businesses. We have been working in partnership with a number of private sector funds and the IDC, which is the Development Finance Institution, on this Township Economy Fund. But because of the number of businesses that are affected, Gauteng has got over 80,000 small businesses that operate in the townships. We have over 80,000 of them. Throughout this week, over 80,000 businesses, even those that were not looted, even those that are not in the shopping malls, including the spaza shops, they themselves were affected because this sporadic incident. If you are running your businesses and you don't know whether you will be next on the line for looting, if you are running your business, you get extremely concerned. So people closed the businesses and just stayed at home. The impact of this is huge on employment because these businesses employ the significant part of the township economy are people who are working in these malls. We are rebuilding now, and it is time to rebuild. But what I want to say is that violence and looting, either by the criminal element or those who have systematically organized this, for whatever reasons they have, is not going to be allowed. It has been stopped in many areas by communities saying that it can't happen in our area. Our economy has suffered many setbacks before. We have had many setbacks. We have been struggling with structural unemployment, a significant number of people who are sitting at home. A lot of them are young people who have not been gainfully employed. And the small businesses have now been, especially the township businesses, have been emerging as significant source of employment. Even if 3 people are employed, even if it's just 10 people employed, the more the small businesses are supported by government, and that's why we in Gauteng have established this Township Economy Fund. That's sometimes to think that big businesses with big foreign investments are the only way to go. Yes, we do need foreign direct investment. Yes, we do need big corporations to invest in our communities, including setting up operations in our townships. But we want township businesses. We want the women in the township. We want the youth in the township to be able to set up their own businesses and operate. So we are rebuilding. We are cleaning up. The law enforcement agencies across the province have improved their operations. We know the complaint has always been that they arrive late, they come after the fact, and I have been working throughout the night with members of the Executive Council, the MECs, to talk to various sectors, but also ensure that there's improved police response and police visibility. But when you face what we are facing, you can't just say it is the security agencies that must deal with the situation. We need everybody. We need everybody. We need communities. We also have been talking over the last 2 days with this a lot of these centers are also having private security companies. Now there's single coordination between the police and the private security companies just to improve monitoring. But for us, the biggest issue is just grassroots community organization, because the underlying issues we know, the underlying issues, to have so many people, to have so many women who you saw joining the looting, to have so many young people easily, readily available to be recruited into violent activities, whether it's during protests or what has been the outbreaks of xenophobic violence, is something extremely dangerous for our country. Those things, we have come out of meetings basically saying that this is time to really get these local economies working for the people. And I call on the private sector. We have many private sector companies, when they come into local communities, they must do this. Let's get local businesses to be in partnership with us. Because when you see that, it is those local business people who stand up to say, we will protect these are our livelihoods. These businesses put bread on the table. So I want to really thank the people of our province who have responded to the call for calm, who have responded to the need to stop the looting. But let me tell you that this calm is something that we must continue to be. We don't want to say that we have overcome, because we don't want another surprise. So we want to be permanently on watch, permanently on guard. We don't want to be hit by another form of this violence and destabilization. We don't want to do that. And from where I sit, even our law enforcement agents, they are the only ones who possess the instruments, the capacity to know things in advance. The communities are able to they've been bringing lots of information in advance. They're able to pick up that there's a vehicle that came in this area without registration numbers, and they were trying to trigger the looting. And let me tell you also what is very important. The people who are looting these ATMs are not just the ordinary people in the townships. The ordinary people in the townships go for the food. The ATMs, the people who come and cut through these machines and get away with the cash, is a very well organized machinery, and that's what the law enforcement agencies must get to understand. There is a modus operandi. In every mall, the first thing that, before people in the community join in the looting, The ATM.
All right, that is the Premier of Gauteng, David MAKHURA. He's speaking in Tembisa and just giving an update on the situation and also updating the number of people that have officially been recorded as having died in relation to the recent violence and looting that we have seen, but also expressing the hope that perhaps we won't be hit by another surprise in as far as the security situation is concerned.